Part 2, The Beauty Spot. Just the other day when I visited here, I saw a minivan driving up the gravel road and park. The side door slammed open and several small children raced out of the car, running up to the peak of the overlook without a care in the world, as children do. The parents were busy unstrapping a very small baby out of a car seat, and the whole family met up at the peak to enjoy a day out in nature. It was a beautiful sight, but it also caused me to remember the dangers of this place. All too often, I think many assume that a place so beautiful cannot be anything other than a sacred space that presents no danger. I wish that were so, but this place holds painful memories, horrible atrocities, and darkness that if most of these people knew about it, I'm hoping they would take more caution, especially with their children. There is a dark reason that many did not visit this place for so long, and it became lost to memory as a place to watch a pretty sunset. One of the most horrific events in recent history happened here in 1967. A police officer from Washington, D.C. was visiting here with his wife, who was a native to the area. A 20-year-old, also a native to this area, whom I will not name. He does not deserve the recognition or the notoriety, in my opinion. He murdered the police officer and he raped the woman. He shot her too in the abdominal area. And after the horrific act, thinking she was dead, he ran off. Actually, he drove off, but we'll get to that in just a moment. She crawled several miles through rugged terrain of the mountaintop until she got help from someone driving by. It was actually two newsmen from a local newspaper who were in the area covering initial reports of the shooting. They spotted her on the side of the highway. So now let's pause here for just a second. Let's look at the distance between the overlook where that happened and Tennessee Highway 107 where she was found. I cannot even imagine the horror of what that woman went through. She had just lost her husband, had a despicable act forced upon her, shot, and left to die. But this woman found the fortitude, and honestly, I don't even know if that's the right word, in fact. I don't know what went through her mind. Maybe it was just the instinct to survive, maybe. But for whatever reason, she crawled off this mountain. How long did that take? And also, I think about this. Obviously, even the wild animals up here didn't bother her. Think about the gravity of that. My personal thought is this: she was meant to live. Even through the immeasurable pain of that event, she was meant to live, and she did. The perpetrator was finally caught and arrested in Georgia. Turns out he was an active duty private in the U.S. Army stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia. The FBI was called in, and they were involved in the manhunt. And just 3 days later, he was in custody. He pled guilty to the murder of the man, kidnapping, assault, and rape of the woman. He remained in prison until his death in 2015, serving over 45 years in a Tennessee state prison, serving multiple life sentences. Now think about that. That is quite amazing for 1967. I remember my mom telling me this story when I was much younger. She would not visit this place again after that happened. Many local people avoided the area entirely, as if forgotten, except every so often this story would be repeated in hushed tones, maybe from fear, maybe from shock and awe, or just out of veneration for the victim, and maybe a mix of all. So now we're going to fast forward 29 years to October 10th, 1996. Another similar but horrific event occurred here. A 15-year-old boy shot and killed 2 victims at the beauty spot. The young boy had stolen a car from a local college, burglarized a residence, and stole several guns. On his joyride to North Carolina, he decided at the last minute to take a little detour to the beauty spot. As he began driving the long dirt road, he noticed a parked car at one of the overlooks, and he passed by. A few minutes later, he decided to go back to the car since he needed some money. So he parked a little distance away from the parked car, and he began walking towards it, armed with a .22 caliber rifle. Inside the car was a man and a woman. The man, seeing the young boy approach, exited the car, and he asked for help. As it turns out, their car wouldn't start, and he needed a jump start to the battery. The young boy never said a word, but instead, without any warning, shot the man in the head and then shot him 2 more times. He later said in his confession that the man didn't look like he was dead after the first shot. So he shot him 2 more times because he didn't want him to suffer. During the commotion, the woman began to flee. He allegedly assaulted her before killing her dead. He denied undressing her and sexually accosting her or moving her body. In fact, both bodies were moved. The young boy took $1 from the male victim. That's all he had in his pocket, and $10 from the female victim's purse. After leaving their dead bodies, he sped off in the stolen car down the mountain, and he wrecked it. He fled on foot for a while, but he was eventually caught and taken into custody by North Carolina authorities. In his statement, he provided details about the gunshots. He said he had to cock the gun before each shot. So let's pause for just a moment. Both of these incidents from 1967 and 1996 involved death by gunshot, 2 victims, a man and a woman. Both men were shot instantly without warning. Both women sexually assaulted and shot, although one woman survived. Both perpetrators were young men aged 20 and 15, respectively. I have several questions, but one that comes to mind is, why this place of beauty? Is it because it's so remote? There are other places in the area that are just as, if not more, remote than this place. And by the way, there are more instances of evil that has happened here since and between these 2 encounters. But these 2 in particular caused me to notice the pattern. I'm going to pause here because I think this ties into another part of the story, Indian Grave Gap. This place is located from the Rock Creek Road entrance to the beauty spot in Unicoi County, Tennessee side of the mountain. This location, Indian Grave Gap, is where you have to pass or cross over it when approaching the beauty spot in the various lookouts. In Cherokee folklore, unmarked graves and ancient burial mounds are considered highly sacred places and should never be disturbed, stepped on, or built over. These sites are viewed as portals between the physical and spiritual realms. To destroy or disturb the sacred land is considered breaking the balance between the two and disrupting the spiritual energy of the deceased. I've often wondered why such a place of beauty, at least during the daytime, feels so eerily different at night. Now, many might scoff at my description of the place, especially if you've recently visited the overlooks and experienced nothing but peace and calm under the warm rays of sunshine. The grassy balds are exceptionally beautiful when the breeze blows softly through the tall grass, producing an almost lyrical whooshing sound, a natural ASMR type spine tingling sensation. The warmth of the sun, cooled by the wind, creates a feeling of primal warmth without the overwhelming heat. The sound of the crickets and the cicadas in nearby trees creates this perfect backdrop for a sense that all is right in the world. No cares of the material world exist up here. It's magical in the sense that you can leave all your cares at the base of the mountain. And as you either drive steadily up the elevation to the top, or if you're one of those brave souls traversing the Appalachian Trail, and you find yourself wondering in amazement at this raw and wild place, I would plead with you to heed my words. Just because this place is beautiful and aptly named as such, and you feel that soul-cleansing inner peace, this place is quite different at nighttime. Once all the people leave and the place is quiet again, the wild animals emerge, and the age-old story of survival of the fittest rears its ugly head as wild coyotes, bobcats, and foxes trek across the ridgelines looking for vulnerable prey for a midnight snack. Many others have claimed to see certain other types of life that shouldn't exist up here. And if you believe in native folklore, the spirits of the deceased whose bodies were buried up here are angry that their final resting place has been disturbed and forgotten. Whatever your beliefs, this place has a history that most have forgotten. Bad things over millennia have occurred here. Surely, some of that energy still remains.